Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Bella Gamer, and today I'm coming with a little bit of a late video for the day, but I'm very excited to talk about the Gorgon, as you can see behind me. Probably one of the scariest Horus mechs in the game. Not for rules reasons or anything, even though actually, yeah, for rules reasons. It's also just horrifying in concept in theory. This is one of the most unique defender frames in the game, and honestly a license that is a must take if you're playing a hardcore defender, as it has so many really good things along with just the Gorgon frame itself. So let's go ahead and start talking about it, shall we? The Gorgon frame you can see here is a size 2 big boy kind of mech. I love the multiple arms in the picture here and just how knobby and nuptial it is. I love the face because it really represents what the Gorgon is about. And honestly, it's a really cool mech. But let's look at the stat line. So looking at the stats here, we have some very interesting points to notice. First of all, HP 12, tying for some of the highest base HP of any mech frame in the game. I believe the Blackbeard has 12, and there might be a couple others. I'm not 100% sure, but this is the highest you can start off with, making Hull a really good choice for the Gorgon, as it has a lot of give, and it actually doesn't have any armor, so you're definitely going to want, as a defender frame especially, to beef up as much as possible. Now, I do know that there are some core bonuses you can select that can give you armor, and I would recommend it. So, overall, the Gorgon is a very beefy and tanky mech, which is really good. Now, its evasion's a little low, having an 8, which I think is about average. Not terrible, but it definitely is on the easier side of being able to hit. But its E defense is nuts with a 12. The 12 makes it very hard to affect with any kind of systems, and I do think there are ways to improve E defense as well, making the Gorgon a really solid choice against enemies you know are going to have hacker mechs in them, or some kind of a hacker units of some variety or form. The Gorgon's heat capacity is on the low end of average, but not bad. A little bit sub-average sensors, and a bonus to tech attack, making it an ideal choice for tech actions if you want to slot some in, if you're not planning on doing anything else with some of your system points. Speaking on system points, it actually has a little bit below average system points, but you can tell there's a lot of frames. There's a lot of frames that have 6 system points. It's really not that bad, honestly. Its repair capacity is a bit on the low side, which is a little unfortunate considering it doesn't have armor to really back it up. But its save target is nuts. The 12, DC is one of the highest in the game, actually, if not the highest. Making it its abilities, anything you can do with this mech that makes the enemy make a save is going to be very beneficial, and it makes it for a very interesting effect style of mech frame that can just do some kind of thing to the enemy, whether it's imposing some kind of limitations, forcing the enemy to take extra heat or burn or whatever, making it a very solid choice, honestly, even outside of the defender trait usually. And its speed is 4, which I think is about average. Frame traits wise, we got some really good frame traits and very unique frame traits, I must add. So the metastatic paralysis is really good. Essentially, it's the revert. It's kind of like a crit fail effect. Whenever the enemy or anyone would roll a 1 or 2 against the Gorgon, no matter the bonuses, it automatically misses the attacker, or misses, and the attacker becomes stunned until the end of their next turn. That's a good way to just shut someone down during their turn and stop them for the next turn. It makes attacking the Gorgon very unappealing. This is a mech you really don't want to hit, which is exactly what the Gorgon wants, especially for some of its later features that we're going to get into. Now, Gaze is even cooler, because Gaze allows it to take 2 reactions per turn instead of 1. That's pretty scary, honestly. It makes the Gorgon very devastating for a lot of its abilities to just get in the way, and thus Gaze being such a unique reaction as well is really makes the Gorgon pop. Like, as a defender frame, if you want a very interesting frame, the Gorgon's going to be for you. Now, Guardian is a very standard defender trait. It allows your allies to use the Gorgon as hard cover. So yeah, this is a very good frame. Enemies don't want to hit it, but it wants to be next to its allies to, prevent them from being hit as easily. And it's got a lot of really cool features in its license systems and the like that really stack on with this. So let's talk about the weapon mounts. It has two main mounts and a flex mount. Two main mounts is rough in my opinion. It's not bad. Two main weapons is honestly not bad. And this is honestly not a bad kitted out frame in general. Like having potentially three main weapons or two oxes and two mains is really not bad. And there's a part of the license that has a weapon perfect for one of these slots. You just, main mounts are very restrictive to me. If it was two flexes and a main, it'd be even better. But that might make the Gorgon too strong. So honestly, I'm surprised it has three mounts at all. With a lot of the features that it generally has, like getting two reactions, this feels like a very strong kit for a mech. It's really impressive. And last but not least, let's talk about the Basilisk directed anti-cognition hyperfractal. You know that weird, beam thing it had in the front. Let's scroll up here. Yeah, this thing right here. Yeah, this causes problems. It's really cool. So the core power. Let's go ahead and read it here. I'll hide my camera real quick. So you extrude the basilisk. You project a horrifying basilisk visual data pattern that's incredibly harmful for NHPs and even hard to look at for humans. It's some strobing lighting effect, essentially, that messes with computers and people. For the rest of the scene, hostile actions characters or for the rest of the scene, hostile characters must succeed on a system save before attacking you or an allied character within range 3. On failure, they become stunned until the end of their next turn. Each character can only be stunned by this effect once per scene. Now, this is particularly nasty because, well, one, the Gorgon becomes infinitely harder to want to attack, but now it essentially it gives that benefit to its allies within range 3, which is not a small distance. That's a pretty sizable area of nope, considering that this mech is a size 2 in addition to this. And it's just a quick action to just set this up. It's really, really good. And stunned again, this, like, the Gorgon, it really lives up to the name. It petrifies mechs very easily. A Gorgon on your team is going to make the enemy's life a living hell. And so one of the things, talking about builds, hull was something I mentioned before because, it doesn't have armor and you wanted to beef up. But honestly, I think more than anything, you're going to want agility. You want speed to get where you need to, when you need to be the most annoying mech on the field. You run into the front line. You're the vanguard. You run up because the enemies don't want to attack you. Attacking you comes with so many risks that I have to say the Gorgon is such a good defender frame. It's a crazy mech, and its license is really good too. All right, Mimic Mesh, probably one of my favorite systems, and it's one of the first rank systems that this mech comes with. This is one that you want to pick up with a lot of defender mechs because it's a really good ability. So you do have to, it's 2 points, and you do have to activate this with a quick action, but you gain the battlefield awareness reaction that you can use. And the trigger is whenever a hostile action is taken against your target, you move 3 spaces towards your target by the most direct possible route. This movement interrupts and resolves before the triggering action, ignoring engagement and doesn't provoke reactions. The reaction can be taken as many times per round as it is triggered. That is nuts. It's because it can be taken as many times per rounds as it's been triggered. It allows a lot of mobility. Granted, it's only at up to 3 spaces. Excuse me, get the hiccups. It's only up to 3 spaces, and you can only select one target when you do so. But still, it's very solid. You want to defend your ally. You want to get in the way. You want to give your guardian trait, assuredly to an ally. This is really, really good. It's a very solid system, and it makes for a really good, any kind of shield mix, any kind of mix that just come in and block fire or whatever. This is really, really solid. So Mimic Mesh is honestly worth 1 rank in Gorgon, no matter what defender frame you're really selecting. Sentinel Drone, a really cool drone that's going to get shot really, really fast. So you deploy this drone, it creates a 2-burst security perimeter, and any hostile characters within the area that make an attack action take 3 kinetic damage from the drone's auto fire before making any attack. This is a really good drone for flushing enemies out, but unless you have the ability to move drones, it kind of loses a lot of its functionality. And it's a very vulnerable drone because even though it has evasion 10, which is honestly not terrible, it only has 5 HP and it's really annoying and very dangerous for the enemies to ignore. So this particular drone is very vulnerable to just getting shot down. But I can definitely see an interesting build that uses multiple Sentinel drones, especially if you have the system points to support it. So Sentinel drone, also really cool, and also I think really worth the rank 1 of the Gorgon license. It's very good for flushing enemies out of a particular area. All right, on to rank 2. With the Gorgon, we also get the Scorpion version 70.1. This is a 2-action system, and it's actually really good because anytime you or an allied character adjacent to you is missed by a tech attack or succeeds on a save against a hostile tech action, that one of 2 things happen. Either the attacker becomes impaired until the end of their next turn and takes 2 heat, or they become jammed until the end of their next turn. So it's either you want to build heat and give impaired, which is, a bad but not terrible, or jammed, which is absolutely terrible until the end of their next round, but there's no heat. This is really good. This is really good. This is great for anti-hackers as well. It makes mechs like the Goblin or any other hacking mech very safe when they select this one because, the Goblin already is really hard to hit. But this is also a really good one for a lot of defender mechs because there's a lot of defender mechs that have a minus or that have a really low E defense. And so throwing this on at the very least makes it so that when the enemy has a chance of missing, or does miss, something bad does happen, making them a slightly less viable target. Overall, I think this is really cool. And God, putting this on the Gorgon, like the Gorgon, you just don't want to attack the Gorgon. The Gorgon can be you can suit your Gorgon up to be just an attacker frame instead. Use a lot of high power weapons. Don't even invest in hull. And the enemies are just not likely to attack you anyway because your mech is just annoying to hit. So I really like this license overall, and the Scorpion V70.1 is a really good system. All right, next, along with the Scorpion, we also have the monitor module here, another 2-point system, and when you activate this gives you a really good set of reactions that you can take. So as a quick action, you roll a d3 and you get that number of charges, and then you choose an adjacent allied character, one that you're probably providing cover with. Until the end of your next turn, whenever your target is attacked while adjacent to you, you expend a charge to skirmish against the attacker as a reaction, dealing half damage, heat, or burn on a hit. All charges are lost when the effect ends. So yeah, this is very good. This is a very solid setup for any kind of Guardian mech that wants their allies nestled in close to them to skirmish with whatever gun. Honestly, put this on the Drake. That's very intimidating. The Drake has to have a weapon that can fire on a skirmish, but it can, I think, with its Hydra Cannon on its base form, it actually can skirmish with it. It's either the Hydra Cannon or the other cannon, I can't remember. But either way, they're both pretty scary. And to put this on, and it's a D3 charges, so it's potentially more than one. Really good. So honestly, monitor module, again, I think is actually worth 2 points into Gorgon if you're playing defender style mechs. All right, we're on to rank 3, but before we get into it, just gonna remind y'all that if you're enjoying this kind of content and you want more people to see Lancer content, give this video a like. It helps the channel out. It gets this video out to more people. Any kind of interactions really, really help. And if you want to see more of this kind of content, then subscribe to the channel. I do Lancer content once a week at minimum, and I'm probably going to do a lot more Lancer content in the future as well. I really love the game. And as well, if you want to see any kind of TTRPG content, we talk about it here on the channel. But let's go ahead and get on to the Vorpal Gun. The Vorpal Gun is really cool. It's a main cannon, as range 5, which is not too big, but the whole point of the Gorgon is to attack enemies at close range anyway. And it does 2d6 damage, which is actually really good. But the problem with this weapon is it can only be fired as a reaction. Good thing our good friend the Gorgon here has 2 reactions per turn that it can use. So Snicker Snack is, you can use it once per round. A hostile character within range of the Vorpal Gun and line of sight deals damage to an allied character. You may make an attack against that hostile character with the Vorpal Gun. This is really good, and this stacks really well with the monitor module, because whatever your other cannon is, you can strike the enemy once with the Vorpal Gun, and then the next enemy you can strike with your monitor module, or whatever order you prefer. It's very good, and it takes up one of the main slots on the Gorgon, and honestly, that's it's not too bad, even though it can only be fired on a reaction. That's the whole point of the Gorgon anyway. And honestly, there's a lot of mechs I think that could benefit from the use of a Vorpal Gun. So this is a really cool weapon. I'm always super excited when any license has a weapon in its license ranks, whatever it is. So yeah, this is actually one of my favorite weapons from any of the licenses. And finally, we come up to the Sila class NHP, probably one of my favorite NHPs, mostly because you don't need to go into this whole tedious process with a lot of NHPs where you have to hand over control to the NHP, and then to get back control, you have to have like a down period time. This is actually one of the easier ones to use. So when you unleash Sila as a quick action, you get one of 2 triggers for reactions you can make. Either a hostile character makes an attack against you or an allied character within range 3, which is probably going to be the most common one, or a hostile character attempts to attack or interact with an object you choose when you take the Unleash Sila action and within line of sight. Characters are aware of the object chosen. These reactions deal half damage, heat, or burn on hit, and must target the character that triggered them. So this is another reaction you can get, but the best part about it is this gives you 2 unique reactions. So these reactions are separate from your other reactions that you can take, giving you a very special ability to, because most reactions, if you didn't know, in the game can only be taken once per round. Even though you can take a reaction every turn, you can only do these each once per round. These will stack on top of it. These are unique reactions that you can get, which is really cool. So when you use these reactions, you get a skirmish against the character that triggered the reaction, dealing half damage, burn, or whatever. This is very solid. A quick action, set yourself up, and just to have some extra reactions that you can utilize during your turns to let you shoot enemies. This makes for a very, very good defender frame. You're a vanguard, you're the house guard. There's the house guard, I think talent tree works really well with this one, because it's any mech within range 3 of you. You want to be close to your ally. The Sila class NHP just gives you a lot of extra ability to shoot different enemies, and you can do this twice in a round, which is very solid. I don't know. I really like the Gorgon. I think it's really cool. It's just, it's a very interesting mech. The only gripe I might have with it is it's such a nasty mech to actually attack that enemies are just gonna take the hardcover shots on your allies more often than not. Not many enemies are aware what your mech does anyway, are gonna want to attack your mech. And kind of one of the points of a defender frame are to eat hits for your allies more than it is to provide hard cover. So while the Gorgon itself is a really good defender frame, has lots of really good abilities, and is still really good at protecting its allies, I feel like one of its biggest weaknesses is that it is such an unappealing target that your enemies are just going to take more difficult shots against your allies, meaning your allies are going to aggregate more damage than you are. But I don't know. Maybe I haven't really seen it in play myself personally. It wasn't one of the mechs that we used in our season that we did with it. So who knows? But I do really like the Gorgon. I think it's a really solid license. Then again, I just have a bias. I'm a Defender main. I love Defender mechs in general. But yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the next mech we're going to look at, which is the Iskander. This is going to be a very interesting one. Not one of my favorites personally, but one of my friends, it's absolutely their favorite mech. And I realized that a new book has come out since I started this series, and I know the Blackbeard got a new frame, the Impaki, which is a really cool frame. This is a really fun one to look at. So I'm going to talk about that one in our video. I don't know if I can just do like a short video for just it. I might as just a special thing, or maybe I'll stack it on with another one. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do with the Impaki. I think it's a very fun one, or Impakai. I'll have to look into pronunciation for the video, but I got to do that one as well. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck with your games. Leave the bad luck to me, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.